Welcome to Cheese in Depth. I'm Michael Landis, and today we have a privilege of speaking with Cypress Grove Chevre. Very good friends and longtime friends. We've worked together in many adventures, seminars across the board, and their cheeses are exceptional. And today we're going to be talking with Michele and Nathan. Michele, Nathan, welcome.
Thanks, Michael.
Michael.
So good to be here. Thanks for having us.
I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah. Well, looks like we're alone, Nate.
Oh, here we go.
So Nate and I both work at Cypress Grove Cheese. Cypress Grove, if you're tuning into this webinar, you probably know a little bit about us. We're up in Arcata, California, which is very far away from everything. It's where the redwoods meet the Pacific Ocean, and it's a very special place. But again, very hard to get to. It's a 5-hour ride north of San Francisco, and there's 2 highways that go in, and those 2 kind of take turns being closed in the wintertime. And you can't really get a full-size truck. Well, you just can't get a full-size truck up there. And we are also affected by the wildfires. Not that we have wildfires where we are, but the wildfires take down our electrical grid. So it's a very adventurous place to be making cheese.
Truly. Yeah, and it's way up there. And the logistics side of things is difficult. The labor side of things is difficult, but it is a little piece of heaven, and the climate is wonderful for animal husbandry, all sorts of outdoor activities. So it's really a great place to make cheese. It's a great place to be able to represent the product from.
Indeed. Here we are. We make a variety of cheeses, predominantly goat's milk cheeses, and we make all different kinds of styles: fresh, soft ripen, and aged.
Our founder, Mary Keene, was a back-to-lander, and we're going to see a little video about her story coming up here in a minute. But this is all about Cypress Grove was really her vision, and what she was able to do with her animal husbandry. Her idea of cheese making and her sense of community is really like transcended the decades since she founded the company, and we still feel it today. So it's pretty special.
She went out to California in like 1968, literally in a VW bus, and she was protesting at the Democratic National Convention. I probably shouldn't say that. Anyway, that was 52 years ago. And she came to California, as Nate said, as a back-to-lander. And she references in the video building their log cabin, but they actually pulled the logs out of the forest for this log cabin with horses. I mean, it's serious. In this slide, you can see that's the forest running into the Pacific Ocean. That is the redwoods. It's a little bit wider. I stretched the picture out a little bit, but they're tall. And then that picture in the lower left corner is actual fog rolling into Humboldt, which we'll get back to. Let's listen to Mary.
I was doing back to the land and ended up in southern Humboldt, built a log cabin, but next door was a cow dairy where they kept goats. And I asked the woman if I could buy a goat, and she laughed and said, "Honey, if you can catch one, you could have it." And pretty soon I had 50 goats. I had to do something with that milk. So I was making cheese at home, totally at home. I was milking my 50 goats by hand, and I had a little fridge where people would leave their glass jar and they'd leave their money, and I put milk in their jars. And, it was very fancy. Cypress Grove was officially founded in 1983. That was when we first made the cheese at the legally stamped creamery. When you think about it, it's the challenges in life that make things worthwhile in a way. That adds a balance. It's like the cheese flavors in your mouth. You need it all to be successful.
So I don't know if you remember seeing that little picture of Mary with her 3 girls on the back of a horse, but she said, you know, like they did everything. They sewed their own clothes, which is why all those people were naked, I think. And they did, you know, they made their own soap. And I don't know if anybody can really get a handle around how unusual it was to start a goat cheese company in the United States in 1983. So there was, you know, people in America were eating American cheese in squares. And if you were fancy, you were eating the Velveeta, right? So to start a goat cheese company is sort of amazing. And Mary on the West Coast, Judy Shadd with Capriole in the center of the country, and Allison Hooper on the East Coast up in Vermont, they all had to sort of band together to make each other better. They didn't know what they didn't know. And so, but if one person's goat cheese was bad, they were all going to go down. So that is the whole premise of the American cheese movement, is that we are all in this to help one another. And it's just sort of an amazing culture to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think it's really a testament to the dedication to agricultural pursuits of that generation, and you know, Mary's ability to like unlock this skill for goat rearing, you know, and then trying to transform just, you know, being able to raise cool goats and for show into, you know, food for people, just like Allison and Judy did. This is kind of the foundation of all of our cheeses. This is our a really nice expression of our goat's milk. It is as it's called. It's straight up. So, Michele, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the process.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think another one of our videos will go into the process a little bit more in depth, but there's a difference between lactic set and enzymatic set or rennet set cheeses. And our cheeses are in general, all fresh cheeses are lactic set. And those are, that just means that you are supposed to, it takes a couple of days to make them instead of a long time, like aging a cheddar, and you have to eat them pretty fresh. So you take the goat milk, you add cultures to it, and then you, instead of, you know, scooping it into molds or anything like that, you put it in this really cool press. And that press overnight gradually moves in, and in the morning when you come, you have sort of dried curd that's been very gently pressed overnight. And if that's, again, the building block of all of our cheeses. So if you leave a little bit more whey in, you get this straight up. There's nothing weird in this cheese. It's just creamier, dippable, spreadable, because there's more whey in it, not because there's some sort of strange emulsifier or anything like that.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, as it's a building block for cheese, it's also a great building block for any variety of kitchen uses. You know, I've been using it as putting a little bit of everything bagel seasoning on it and olive oil, and just dipping grissini in it. It's been great. Another thing I've been doing is taking peppadew peppers and stuffing it with straight up, and I whip it with a little bit of herbs de Provence and maybe a little bit of cream cheese if I'm feeling in the mood. And then you got like a nice little pepper popper, right? So what have you been using it for, Michele?
Well, mostly I just put it in my pie hole because that's what I like. But I have an example of something that I used it for. I made a grilled cheese sandwich. I got this idea from one of Laura Werland's grilled cheese books. It's a grilled cheese sandwich. It's got straight up and Nutella in it. And it is, it's amazing. It's on a brioche with cinnamon and raisin. And it's crazy good. So, I mean, it's just a super versatile cheese. If you're tasting along with us, you can taste it. It's not very salty. It's not goaty. It doesn't taste like, like you're in the barn and there's the buck. It's just very mild, not too salty. It definitely tastes like goat's milk as opposed to cow's milk, but it's really super mild and gentle and delicious. Very versatile. And I've got it paired with, I can't say it. I can't say it. Gruner.
Gruner
No.
Veltliner?
Yes, Gruner Veltliner, because I just wanted to be able to say groovy when I tasted the.
I probably butchered it myself.
It's the Austrian version of Sauvignon Blanc. It's just a little bit trendier than Sauvignon Blanc this week, but it's got that really nice minerality that goes so well with goat cheeses. That's what I did.
Yeah. I've been dipping grissini into that everything seasoning with olive oil, and I've been washing it down with a nice fader. And this is from Half Acre in Chicago. It's a nice light lager, so you get a little bit of salt on that seasoning, and the lager just washes everything right off your palate, nice and clean.
Oh, they're great choices. Yeah. Well, I just love this cheese. This is just so wonderful to be able to grab. It is to me a start of the single to a double serving, because I grab this one and grab a second one. But I've been known just to load it full of fruits and stuff, and just pour a little honey in there, sprinkle a little brown sugar on it, and then just eat it like that. But today I have a Effie's pecan little homemade biscuit, and then of course take a little bit. This is so creamy. I mean, this is just amazing. A lot of times when you get the goat cheese, you're fighting it or it's crumbling away. This is just rich, creamy, and so much fun. And then I'm topping it off with Savannah bee honey. This is a whipped honey with lemon. You can this is just so crazy. So a little bit of lemon on it, and with the pecan nut cake. And then, you want to be healthy. So a little bit of blueberry. All right. So that's what I got for this. And then I'm pairing this up with, this is a premium blonde ale. And this is out of South Carolina. It's Edmond's Oast Brewing. And I wanted, like what, Nate said, he wanted something a little light to clean the palate. And this is an amazing little simple blonde ale. And again, when you're working with goat cheese, you have a lot of options to be able to step up and get a little bit of like a pale ale or even an IPA, a mild one up there, and they can hold up to it. But this is so creamy. It really needs just a little bit of carbonation to clean your palate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Cheers for that.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked that wine, which I'm not going to try to say, the Groovy, because I think it'll go with all of these. It's just something that you could, if you were just going to have one wine with your dinner or whatever, then you could, or with 6 different cheeses, you could easily go with that, or either one of the things I think that you guys picked. Straightforward.
Yeah, versatility is the key, and I think part of doing tastings like this is being able to bounce back and forth and try different combinations, so if you have an array of items, you can just have some fun. There's no hard and fast rule.
This cheese board in front of me is going straight up the stairs in front of the TV for Netflix tonight. This is
That's the same thing here at 5 o'clock. When we finish here, I move it from this room over to the other room right in front of the TV, and this is my dinner. It's our dinner tonight. But I have to say is that I forgot to put coasters down on here, and I would just happen to have a Cypress Grove coaster. So, protecting my furniture with, you know, a nice little coaster.
Way to build the brand, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you know, I think you sent me like 9 reels of them, so I'll actually never ever run out.
So in our cheeses, Mary's father was a military man. I'm not sure which military, but his motto was, "There's plenty of mediocrity. Don't make anything mediocre. We got plenty of mediocre. If you're going to do something, do it well, right?" And so Mary grew up with that and really believes that, and felt like you know, anything that we put out needed to be a step above. So you know, we source all these sort of unusual ingredients to go in our flavored cheeses, and source the best ingredients we can. And the next cheese we're going to taste, I think, is Purple Haze, which is an experiment that Mary was doing in her kitchen. She had a bunch of lavender. Somebody gave her some fennel pollen, and every time I say fennel pollen, all I can think of is like some hippies in a room trying to get the fennel off the pollen off the fennel. Anyway, it's a visual for me. So our line of fresh cheeses, we try to do something a little bit different than what you see from other folks that make goat cheese. A little off the beaten path. Nate, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say the trick to that is making sure we're still like expressing the quality of the goat's milk in the cheese. So even though we are incorporating a lot of herbs into our fresh disc, it's still an excellent balance of these cool ingredients that Michelle's talking about, and the quality goat milk. So that's a testament to the creamery and our make team there. And then, you know, as far as the names go, we really like to have fun with the names. Sometimes it doesn't resonate with folks, but you know, sometimes you get some hardcore Jimi Hendrix fans, or you know, some of the names pay homage to Humboldt's cash crop, which we won't go into today, but those of you out there that understand what I'm talking about. So you know, we have 5 fresh discs, one plain one, which is just straight up goat's milk. It's along the lines of straight up, but a little more drained, a little courtier. And then the one we're going to be tasting today, Purple Haze, with fennel pollen, lavender. We have a nice spicy one called Sergeant Pepper. So Beatles fans out there, rejoice. Herbs to Humboldt would be one of those cheeses that alludes to our cash crop, Humboldt County. And then Psychedelic, which has really nice dill pollen and dill wheat in it. So, Michael, what's our next slide? Is it Purple Haze? Are we ready to eat this thing?
No, it's a video.
Oh, it's a video. Oh, I jumped the gun.
Fantastic.
What
This is
do
the
we got?
which shows a little bit of the cheese making in the actual creamery.
Perfect.
When I think of cheese, I often talk about it as being magical. So you have milk, you pasteurize it, you add your cultures, and then you have like Jell-O. The curd is hung in a bag and then just lightly salted, so that's the base. Then we also have the soft ripened cheeses, which have the basic beginnings, but they're much more complex. By then we're adding ingredients. Blooming is what you call the development of the white mold on the outside. Like cultures, the molds that you use on the outside, there's a huge variety. It's quite a deep science. We don't want to make someone else's cheese, we want to make our own cheeses. And you want a balance of acid, salt, the aroma you will catch as it goes into your mouth, and that creaminess, and that gets you in the right mood right away.
For Purple Haze, Michael, come back. For Purple Haze, I did what Michael did in the first round. So I put the Purple Haze with a honeycomb, which is just a delicious pairing. And I did a dry hard cider alongside, because how can you go wrong with apples and cheese and honey, and so good. But I'm very proud of the salad I made too, because that's what I use Purple Haze for most of the time, is a salad. Okay, let's see if I can get it on screen here. Yeah.
Blueberries, nice. Yeah.
Blueberries, some toasted pecans, some cucumbers, local cucumbers and lettuces, and yeah, blueberries with a nice honey vinaigrette.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I did a twist on something that's really popular with some of our colleagues in especially food industry, Mike's Hot Honey. So I used a little Mike's Hot Honey, but I sliced up peaches and I crumbled Purple Haze over the top, drizzled Mike's Hot Honey on it, and then finished it with a little fresh mint from the backyard. So nice seasonal flavors. You know, like right now, it's a great time for fresh cheese and goat's milk cheese with all the great produce that's kicking around. So the result was pretty good, I gotta say. And then with a pairing element, I found this amazing beer from Blackberry Farm called Boundary Tree, and it's a Belgian style ale, and then the yeast in it really has like a nice little stone fruit quality to it that just bounces off the peaches really well and cools down the spice of the honey. So I was pleased with my experiment.
You know, I think in this at this time particularly, it's hot out. Everybody's tired of being inside. Well, you're either going one way or the other with cooking. You're going insane doing so much cooking because it's fun, or you are so sick of cooking that you can't take it anymore. And I think, you know, just having something simple, like just put some cheese on a plate with whatever you've got is really, you know, it's such a simple and easy fix. And it's a crowd pleaser. I forgot to show you guys my pizza crust, but I would also, with Purple Haze, just buy a pizza crust and then, you know, like just maybe put some straight up on the bottom of it as like a white pizza, do some caramelized onions, maybe some prosciutto, maybe drizzle some honey over that, like the hot honey, and then put some Purple Haze on it. I'd eat that. How about you, Michael? What are you eating?
Did he take the board into the other room already?
So Nate, what we're reading, you can tell me. Honeycomb. This is also Savannah Bee's honeycomb. So when you eat honeycomb, it's waxy.
I mean, I have. You know, it's kind of like how I've eaten it. Yeah, I do believe it's totally digestible. And I've done it many times in the past. So if somebody used to tell me that you're not supposed to, I'm still alive.
No, you're totally supposed to, because I see it like crostinis with a crostini with Purple Haze with a little bit of honeycomb.
Yeah, honeycomb on it. Yeah.
Right on in.
Yeah, it's maybe an unexpected texture for certain folks, but
yeah, but that's kind of nice next to this really super creamy, luscious, fluffy goat cheese.
Absolutely.
This has always been one of my favorites. I just love this cheese. I've used it in a tremendous amount of pairings across the board. The one of the most popular cheeses that I've ever had at the 420 Festival was Sweetwater in Atlanta. This one pairs with just about everything that Sweetwater does. And it's really a lot of fun to be able to have out, you know, the interesting names and some of the stories behind it. So this time with this is, I just wanted to be kind of simple because this lends itself with all those flavors, you know, with the fennel pollen. You know, one of the things that I love about that is that I've always, as a kid, been a licorice fan, and fennel brings out just a little bit of that, along with the, you know, lavender that comes out of here, the sweetness, the tanginess. So I went with the Volpe Heritage Prosciutto, which this is an 18-month version of that. Just an amazing, rich, full flavor. And when you think about putting up a charcuterie up against cheeses, sometimes the charcuterie can win. But because of the flavors of the richness here, we really can stand up and get some really great pairing. You get both the flavors. It's kind of got a little more butter comes out of this, and it's really pretty simple. And then I add in a little bit of a cracker that has, this is Firehooks Organic Mediterranean, and it's rosemary and sea salt. So really, really simple. And literally, you can just build yourself a little treat on here. And then I'm pairing this up with Oscar Blues. I love this little beer. This is Mama's Little Yellow Pills. And you know, you just need something to clean the palate on here. You don't want it to get in the middle of this beautiful cheese or what you're drinking or eating. You want it to just breathe there, help clean it, make it a little bit more fun. And that's what Mama's Little Yellow Pills will do.
Oh, that's, I love that. Yeah, I also have some finocchiono sausage that I like to pull. You know, it's the same kind of pairing rather than opposites attract, which is really delicious.
Yeah, I think the for me the fennel in that cheese gives it a little bit more like backbone, because it's fairly delicate. You know, like you have that beautiful floral quality of the lavender, and it's fresh, it's bright, it's good acidity. But you have like, there's a certain meaty quality, and it just reminds me of like a sausage quality to the cheese of standalone. So it makes sense to, like, you know, pair it with a like item, or like, you know, Michael's has like really nice prosciutto, just makes that bounce a little more. So a really versatile, great cheese. I enjoy it. We put it on beet salad last night, which is awesome, you know, so.
Now the availability of American prosciuttos now are so simple and easy to come by. So you can really dress these up to the level of the cheese. You know, I mean, what else? You wouldn't want to have a charcuterie that can't stand up and be part of this. And, you know, the cheese just brings out, it elevates the entire cheese board by making everybody else have to come up to that level. And that's what I love about that cheese. You know, you can take a simple, and I mean that simple, because the simplicity of it is that it's a fresh cheese, that you can take that and really come out with an amazing cheese board with that cheese.
So you guys, when you during pairings with fresh cheese, like a fresh goat cheese that is bright and acidic, what made you land at what you're drinking?
My what? I'm sorry?
Is there something you need to have in your beverage to balance out that acidity of a fresh cheese?
Well, when you're talking about goat cheese, if you were to Google Michael Landis cheese, you would probably find 70 goat cheese and Sierra Nevada pale ales together, because the pale ales do really well. A little bit of hoppiness on there can really help out with the goat cheese. The lemony flavor, the citrus, brings out more of the butter brings out more of the maltiness of the beer. The hops settle the citrus down and actually brings out more butter. So you get butter and maltiness. And in the backbone of this, you really get those hops back there with a little bit of citrus, because hops and citrus do so well together. You know, because a lot of the citrus hops out there work really well. So they're really well matched to be able to play together. And so a lot of times that's the direction that I would go, would be pale ale, somewhere right around there. But being that I have the saltiness through here, I have the rosemary, I already got everything that I need. So now I just want to help clean my palate and balance it out. And that's why, you know, Mama's Little Pills is going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think bubbles. I think you want bubbles in there with fresh cheese for the most part. And so like any like beer is a perfect pairing for it. Michael's notes about just the natural quality of fresh goat's milk and like lemon and citrus that pop out. and hops are great. I think I really lucked out with mine and finding that Belgian yeast strain that they were using in this beer really has like a peach pit quality, and so fresh peaches just like it was just like a win-win. So I'll pat myself on the back, but it was kind of like blind luck.
As it often is.
Yeah.
That's good, yeah. And do you generally, Nate, do beer more often than wine with cheese?
It's 50-50, I'd say. Where I live, there are some archaic liquor laws, so beer is more readily available and wine is a little expensive. So it's you just kind of have to work with what you got sometimes. But you know, this time of year, if it's not a nice light bodied wine, it's a nice light bodied beer.
Yeah, I do. You know, for the teetotalers out in the world, I do a lot of Topo Chico with.
Oh yeah.
Just for the bubbles, you know, nice
Yeah.
bubbles. Perfect.
Yeah, effervescence is key with this stuff. Clean the palate. Keep on eating.
So next, Nate, I think we go into Humboldt Fog.
I had had a dream of what's become Humboldt Fog, and the cheese looked like a cake. And when I had the dream, there was the layer of ash, cheese, ash, and then all the way around. I just thought, I guess I'm supposed to make this cheese. So the ash really does affect the flavor. The pH balances out that acidic, bitey kind of thing. If you cut it straight down, that ash will kind of feather into the white cheese, and it really looks like the Humboldt County fog, which comes in a huge bank across the ocean. All of those things gave Humboldt Fog kind of a cult following. It's not how cheese is traditionally made, but it also made it uniquely American.
There it is. Humboldt Fog. So this is our flagship cheese. Mary came up with this idea, as she mentioned, in that dream. And for us, we did sort of hit gold with this because it's an iconic cheese that is carried in a lot of shops around the country. We're really lucky in that. And you know, we're an artisanal maker. We're in a small town. It's hard to get in and out of, but distributors really need to have cheeses that are as popular as Humboldt Fog to fill those trucks, right? To make sure that the distribution chain works really well. So because Humboldt Fog is such a great cheese that people really love, it also allows you to have other small darling cheeses in your shop that you might not be able to get to otherwise.
Just kind of like highlight what you mentioned as far as like our the availability of the cheese, and it's such a gateway cheese for people as well. It's a gateway goat cheese, the goatway cheese, right? For people who like might have had like negative goat milk experiences, or you know, like had like really woolly or funky goat cheeses. It's, you know, what we do is we really like try to cultivate that butter fat out of the goat's milk and make a creamy buttermilky cheese that like has like goat qualities, great acidity, nice citrus notes, but isn't going to be really funky. So we make a lot of Humboldt Fog. It comes out in two parts, right? So we're getting the base of the wheel, and then we spray it with ash, and then we get another top. We top it off, we form it, and then we flip it out, cover it with ash, and a little bit of geotrichum and penicillin candidum on there. And then we start ripening it. So we have a few different stages of ripening. We put it into a more humid environment at first to allow that bloom to start taking. And then once it's really taken over and started really developing the cheese, we put it into the next stage of cooler, which has a little bit drier environment. And then eventually we put it into a colder environment so that it is prepared for shipment, essentially, because one of the hardest things about shipping soft ripened cheese to all parts of the country is controlling the cold chain and making sure the cheese shows up with integrity. And so this is a great slide. This is one of my favorite slides that we have, and this is basically the truncated life of Humboldt Fog. There are a couple of stages in between where you get from the top left to the top right. But you can kind of see as that cheese deteriorates, as that proteolysis starts breaking down all of the milk proteins, and you get that beautiful cream line around it. You can see just how varied this cheese can be by the time it gets to you. And it's, certain ages for certain flavor profiles too, for what you like. Some people like it really, young, where it's like nice and fresh and creamy. And then you get that top right cheese where it's like a little mushroomy and funky, and gooey, and some people be scared of it, but it all depends on what you like.
To piggyback on what you were saying before, I also think that not just goat cheese, but like specialty cheese in general, this is a gateway cheese. It's maybe the first special cheese you've eaten for a lot of people. It was one of the very first that I ate that I was like, what is that? That's not Colby Jack. Why is it white? What's up with that?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, so for me, that slide is like good, better, best. I love it when it's running out the door without me. I just love that funkiness. But the milk is seasonal as well. So there's no two wheels that are really the same. And that's what making cheese by hand is all about, right? We don't change the recipe we don't change the milk to fit the recipe. We change the recipe to fit the milk. And so it's really, it's seasonality has something to do with it, where you are in the country. It's, you're going to recognize it, but it's not ever going to be exactly the same twice, which is kind of an interesting and wonderful thing. So
we're going to eat this now, or?
Yeah. So you also said the soft white bloomy rind. So if people know, it's kind of a brie style rind, and that does the enzymatic action from the outside in. So you will get three different parts of this cheese. Oops. Let's see if I can do this. Mine's super young. So there it is. Mine's super young. So you get that really nice fluffy paste in the center. A lot of people think that ash down the center is blue. It is not, it's ash. You have to be careful about how you say ash ripened. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. And then you get the cream line sort of right underneath the rind, and then the rind, right? So this expands as the cheese ages, you get a larger and larger cream line. And three different kinds of tastes there. And so depending on what your Humboldt Fog looks like, I urge you to try each of those components sort of separately and then together as a perfect bite. Why ash, Nate?
Ash helps neutralize the acidity on the rind and cultivate that bloom. So it's, it helps the cheese mature. And then the interior one is purely aesthetic, but it's mimicking the coastal fog of Humboldt County that rolls in like clockwork almost every day. Like Michele mentioned earlier, it's we've got the Pacific Ocean that runs right into Shasta Trinity Forest, and so you have that marine layer comes in and just hangs out over Humboldt County. So it is not just aesthetic; it's also functional.
Keep talking, Nate. I got food in my mouth.
I don't really like doing too much with this cheese, to be honest with you, other than eating it. I've definitely like crumbled it on a lot of things. Use it as a base of a salad dressing, so thinking about kind of like a traditional blue cheese salad dressing, but using Humboldt Fog instead. But for the most part, I love it with fresh fruit, Marcona almonds, and I've got a weird, funky, sparkling white wine from northern Italy that's got a little bit of yeast to it. Bounces some of the funkiness of the cheese off of it, and just kind of like washes away that rich buttery quality of it.
I got all fancy, but like you, generally what I do is just eat it out, on a cheese board. It's delicious. But I put a little bit, I was turned on by a friend of mine who makes lemon curd and and it's delicious with lemon curd. So that was a revelation to me. I have it with a little bit of lemon curd, and then those rustic bakery pecan shortbread cookies. So if you've never had Humboldt Fog for dessert, I can recommend that. And then I knew you guys would know what you were talking about with beer and wine, where I just know what I like. I don't know anything about it, but you guys are very educated. So I went with just an amber beer because again, that was something that I thought would kind of go with everything. I'll check it out.
So it is a pretty easy to pair up beer. I was out in one of the vineyards and they did a cheese board and they brought out Humboldt Fog with a honeycomb and a little bit of fruit. And I have to tell you that is the classic decadence of this particular cheese, that a little bit of a honeycomb and a little bit of this cheese goes so far. You really can just love with that. But I thought I'd take it a little bit direction. You know, that's been done enough. So I think it's time to make a little bit of a change. So I got this Bonnie's Jams. And Bonnie's Jams is a little different in some of the ways where, you know, she grew up in with making jams every day with her parents from the orchards around there. And this is the most unusual thing that I've seen, but it is just amazing. This is pecans, it's nuts and honey together. And so they just saturated. And it is just an amazing little guy that you put this together, and you get the sweetness of the cheese, you get the nuttiness, you get the honey. So it's kind of like everything in the little world there.
I have to show off my cheese board because I was also thinking that, gosh, what do you do with Humboldt Fog? Well, you just put it on a cheese board. So I'm going to try to maneuver my camera. Let's see how I do. How's that? Can you see it?
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
So good. Very exciting. Very exciting. Dinner's going to be great.
Well, you know, with this nuttiness also is that you could do like the Effie's rye cakes with it. So you don't have so much stickiness, because between the cheese and the honey and the nuts, it is quite sticky. You almost need a wet nap working with it. And then I paired this up with Mark Twain's Brewing out of Missouri. And this is their Clemens Kolsch. And again, it's a bit lighter. It's not a real heavy beer, but what it does is it really helps clean all that richness that you get. The nuttiness, the honey, the cheese, all those things play a really big part. So again, I don't want to take away from those flavors. I just want to make it a little easier on myself, and that's where a nice Kolsch comes into play.
Beautiful. You know, I think we're all eating really well in the pandemic. It's nice to see.
Too well.
Yeah.
Too well.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else about Humboldt Fog?
Oh, I think we're good.
You know, I think the only thing that I want to say is that when you do go to a store to be able to buy it, and it's not pristine white, that's a good thing. You don't need it to be this bright, shiny cheese. You actually want to have, like what Michele showed you, was just a little bit of separation. As this matures, it actually gets more goopier and pretty amazing. And so this is one of those cheeses that you can actually watch it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you get that nice separation because that's all about gooey butter. And that's really amazing. So don't judge the cheese by it's supposed to be pure white. Look at it as it's maturing and appreciate age in the beauty of that.
Yeah, if you want consistency, go to McDonald's. Our cheese is all about, having an experience every time you eat it.
That's the fun part about these cheeses is that, the variation that you're going to have in here, there isn't an exact duplicate every single day. Because when we get to the next slide, we're going to be talking about the kids, and seasonality plays an important part, the quality of the milk that doesn't go bad, but what it does is it has peaks of greatness in that. And so you get some variation in aging that goes through. Some of them will have more of a butteriness, which will age a little faster. Some will have a little bit more protein, which will slow it down. So, the best way to be able to judge a cheese is by your own taste. If it tastes exactly the way you like it, it's good. And that's the end of the story. It doesn't have to be approved by anybody. It just has to be approved by you.
Hear, hear. Oh, again. Cheers again. Yay.
Cheers.
Cheers. All my glasses are going to have monkey paw. That's okay.
Okay.
So,
All right.
So Mary started with her own goats, and eventually it got to be too much. She had, 50 goats turns into 100 goats pretty quickly. And so she realized that she needed to concentrate on cheese making and not so much with the goats. But, we get fresh milk from a lot of surrounding farmers, and we've tried over the years, or she tries over the years, to help them with their genetics and their equipment and all the things that, universities in the United States don't really study. There's very few people that know how to do goat dairy well. And so Mary went back and we started a goat farm in hopes of being able to give that goat know-how to the surrounding family farms that are doing goats and sending us their milk. And we now are at a point where we have 1,400 goats. That's capacity. It's really cool. And we actually sell some of those and give away some of those goats, the little does, to help seed the surrounding farms and get their genetics to get really good, because that's one thing that Mary is exceptional with, many things, but one of them is goat genetics. She's really good. The goats at our farm give about 8.6 pounds of milk a day, which is 2 pounds more than anybody else's goats. So it's pretty amazing. Still only, if you want to know why goat cheese costs money, it's still only a tenth of what a cow will do. But it's pretty cool what she's got cooking.
Here in the States, this is a relatively new industry, so we did a lot of research in Holland, also in France, where animals were treated very humanely, had plenty of space, lots of good food, places where goat milk and goat cheese have been around for a very long time. Because we started our farm with a very small number of goats, we put a lot of emphasis on raising young stock, kid rearing as we call it, and that really begins with the first 12 hours of life. They need to have very clean and very rich colostrum. Raising the kids from the beginning makes a huge difference for their entire lives, and we've had a lot of success, and kids are extremely healthy. We decided to use clear span structures because it allows a lot of passive solar. We made sure the animals had plenty of access to water and food, and routing to and from building to building was smooth and easy. I think what I'm most proud of here at the dairy is the team of employees. They're all very well trained, they all really care for the animals, and they really care about the end product.
So this is Chris. Chris was going to be with us today, but he did something funny to his eardrum and he's in pain. So he's not with us today, I'm sorry. But he is our head dairy man, and this is him on the left with the feed for the goat. There's a couple of twin goats there down at the bottom. You can't go wrong with pictures of baby goats, I figured. And so once the goats are born, they are in the kid barn for about 6 weeks, and then they go outside. You see those little guys outside for some months, and then they go on to pasture for a while, up until about 1 year old, and they put a buck out in in the pasture at some point when they're about 10 months old, and that's when we start getting baby goats. And then they come into the barn again, those big, beautiful barns that there's a picture of the goats on the pasture, which I think is just beautiful. And they get to live out there. Obviously, they have structures if they want to go inside. And then once they're pregnant, they come back into the barns that you saw with the pretty, with the solar panels up top. And so we can watch their rations and all that and make sure that they are healthy and happy. When they go into the milking parlor, they play smooth jazz for the goats. They tried a bunch of different things and they decided on smooth jazz. So the goats are very happy there. Anything to
happy
talk
goats.
about?
Yeah, happy goats lead to happy milk, right? It's crazy to go, and every time I go to the dairy and watching the parlor at milking time, the goats chewing their cud, they're so serene. So it's actually a pretty good life. The fact that we've constructed an open source dairy to share information with goat milk, established goat milk industry in the United States and future goat milk industry in the United States, we take a lot of pride in that. So animals are treated extremely well, and you can't make good food with unhappy animals. So
It's true.
Yeah.
So the next cheese I think we're going to taste is the Truffle Tremor, right? Staying on soft dry bin. This is again another soft dry bin cheese. Michael, I think you have a slide that shows Truffle Tremor next.
So another soft ripened cheese. We don't use any ash in this one, but we do use pieces of black truffle that we get from Italy. That's real truffle piece. There's no synthetics in there. There's no truffle oil. There's no truffle salt. So it's just the pure expression of the truffle and the match of the goat milk. And just like we do with our fresh cheeses with our herbs, we let the goat milk express itself. We're not trying to mask anything in there. So you find a harmony of that citrus and butter fat from the goat's milk, and it just like matches up with that earthy mushroom really well. And this is coming from a man who doesn't really care for truffles that much. I think it's an excellently balanced cheese, and it is one of the only truffle cheeses in the market that I will eat, biased, but it's kind of extravagant, but I prefer to cook with this cheese than just eat it straight up. I like putting it into root vegetable mash, especially in the fall, like parsnips, carrots, potatoes, and throw that in instead of butter, and let that mushroom and the butter fat from the milk, from the cheese, just like come together and marry. It's really nice. But in this instance, since it's 88 degrees outside, humid, and I'm not going to make a root vegetable mash in late June, I found this beautiful buckthorn preserve, which is kind of like a wild berry. It has a really nice, like good acidity and good sweetness to it, and it pairs extremely well with the mushroom and the butter fat of the cheese, and that's it. That's all I did. And I got a glass of Gamay, because Gamay is just like a highly drinkable, like easy to pair wine. It's not going to dominate anything. So you get a little sweet, a little earth, a little fat, and then just like a nice rich grape on the drink.
I went with a Barbera. The cheese is not so salty that you can't put that it will fight with the tannins. So I just went with, same as you, sort of a light-bodied red. And I'll tell you, my secret hack for quarantine living is, don't tell anybody, but it's, like a package of risotto, just fast cook packaged risotto, and then put a little bit of this cheese in it, and you are the hero.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Cool.
How about you, Michael? What are you eating?
Well, this is I did a seminar years ago with some cheesemakers and some brewers. So we had everybody together, and it was really a lot of fun that we were able to do a lot of different things. And one of the brewers said, you know, this is one of those cheeses that you can pair with anything. I'd eat it off my shoe. So it's just a pretty, you know, fun cheese to work with. You know, I paired it up with oranges, candied oranges and rosemary, taste elevated. So I got that. A little bit of a, I used the Rustic Bakery, their sourdough, just olive oil and sea grizz, nothing really fancy. And so, you know, just get a little bit of the cheese and a little bit of the orange, and that's it, you know. But what I decided to do was that I really like some Belgian, some really more industrial, richer beers with this. And so I went with the Chimay Grand Reserve Blue. And this is such an amazing beer. It's a meal in itself. And the ABV alcohol level happens to be about 9. So, you know, it's a pretty formidable beer. So it's not something that you're going to sit down and session-wise, especially on a hot day like today. But when you have this cheese with this much intensity of flavor, richness, oranges, and the olive oil, you really need something that's going to stand up, and Chimay Blue does.
So we'll know
bread, right?
when we figure out how to push the buttons later. That's a good one. Ooh, look at that. Oof. Yeah.
Such a, you know, with the broadness of the 6,000 breweries originally, a short while ago, there was a lot of availability of beers, where today I went to my local store to be able to pick up beer, and they have not diversified. They used to go, they would have shelves and shelves of these really fun beers and some classics, and they haven't got orders in. So I've been really kind of picking through some of the beer that hasn't been purchased by anybody in a while. And so the current beer is probably not as available as it was in March. So my choices are a little bit more limited, but it's kind of like a bonus, because I love Chimay. I adore this beer. I love the cheese just as much. And I think that for those that really want to have one drink and one drink only, the Chimay Blue does a really good job.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I had 2 once. That was a mistake. But I live to tell the tale. I'm not going to tell it to you now, though. That's for sure.
Woo. Yeah.
So all of our cheeses have won awards. The Straight Up in the last Fancy Food Show, which is a thing, won the award for the best new cheese, which is pretty cool. And you know, there's nothing here that hasn't won an award. Midnight Moon, that which you're about to taste, won the Super Gold at the World Cheese Awards last year. So yeah, it's, you know, all the great stories and all the great history is grand, but if the cheese isn't any good, it doesn't much matter. So we are very lucky that we get both, right? We get a storied history and amazing cheese to eat. Couldn't ask for more. I think the next one we're going to taste is the Midnight Moon. And this is actually, it's made for us in Holland and imported. Mary met, there's a longer story, but I'll give you the short version. Mary met a guy at the Fancy Food Show when she was just getting started, and he tasted her cheese and said, you should taste mine. And so apparently his mom, he was a Gouda maker from Holland, and his mom made this really wonderful cheese. So Mary went over and worked with them, was really happy with their how they treat their goats and their, you know, just the animal husbandry and everything that happens in Holland. And so she worked with these folks to come up with a recipe for this cheese, which is an aged goat cheese. And I got to tell you, talk about a gateway cheese for people that just say, I'm not eating goat. It tastes like goat, tastes like it smells. Nope, I'm not eating anything. Nothing to do with a goat. You put this, you say, okay, great. And then you give them a piece of this, because why not? And it's really life changer. You just watch that light bulb go up over their head. It's so caramely and delicious. It's just such a great cheese. Honestly, it's my favorite cheese. Don't tell the others.
I think one thing to note is we don't have the infrastructure to make Gouda at our creamery, right? We're so invested in our soft ripen and fresh that we don't have the aging or the make room for any sort of cheese style outside of soft and fresh at this present moment. So it's great to know that this cheese is our recipe and it's being made by some of the finest cheesemakers in Holland, and the results are always outstanding. So, Michele, what did you?
It's got some good age on it too. It's, between 6 and 8 months. Sometimes we even get it older, and it's really. I mean, for me, the more complex it is, the more concentrated those flavors. It's so good. You're gonna ask me what I used it, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I'm curious. What do you got going on there?
I have two things. So first of all, I have this wonderful, easy zucchini, because right now where I live, zucchinis are sort of off the rails. And so I just sauteed some almonds in a little olive oil, put the zucchini in, and then shredded Midnight Moon on top. And the whole thing takes 35 seconds, and it's amazing. Lots of fresh ground pepper. But I will confess that the thing I do most often with Midnight Moon, if I'm not just eating it on a cheese board, is that I shred it and put it on popcorn. It is insanely good.
Wow.
So good.
That is a great popcorn cup. Wow.
Thank you. I'm invested in popcorn, which is why I have the best popcorn cup in the world. I love popcorn. I love popcorn with Midnight Moon even more. And I was going to try it with, again, trying to go with the non-alcohol pairing. I'm going to try it with some cold brew.
Oh, nice. I want to take a quick step back if we can, because I forgot a secret that we have around Cypress Grove for Truffle Tremor.
Yeah.
And for the teetotalers out there that don't want to have alcohol, might I suggest Coca-Cola. It's amazing. I swear, try it. Truffle Tremor and Coca-Cola. It's crazy. You get the effervescence, so it kind of cuts through the butter fat, and you get a little bit of sweetness in there. But it is a trippy flavor experience. So I had to throw that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Moving to dovetailing off the sweetness of Coca-Cola, I find Midnight Moon to be like sweet and caramelly and brown buttery. So I kind of went whole hog on this last one. So I got some dark chocolate, Midnight Moon, some 36-month prosciutto, and Michael, you might appreciate this. I have a nice bottle of Orval, a nice Trappist ale. So something that's like nice and malty. Yeah, a little bit of hoppy, a little bit of bitterness in there. So you're getting sweet, salty, fatty, bitter. You're getting a lot of boxes ticked off on this pairing. So, yeah.
Well, this is something that is magnificent on its own. You don't have to do anything. This is a snacking cheese that goes way back that you can just really enjoy. I've used this in a penne pasta. I've used it in a tremendous amount of recipes. It just works. It melts beautifully in that. But for sitting around and tonight having a snack, something that I picked up was a brewer's cracker, which is actually it's spent grains. So it's, you know, I hate to use the word recycled grain, but it is. It's, you know, really amazing. And this is their brewer's cracker everything. And I mean, it really literally is everything. Rosemary, thyme, garlic, basil, black mustard seed, sesame, all that's in here. And, you know, you would think that this would just be that. But the cheese brings the butter in and just mellows it out as if you just sprinkled all of that on here. Just sprinkled. It doesn't overwhelm the flavor characteristic of it. So, you know, I can't let that stand. So I got some Perseverance Society fig spread and said, you know what? I just can't let you just be there all by yourself. I'm going to help you out with a little bit of fig. And fig and this cheese is magnificent. And I stayed true to course. So I downgraded a little bit in the ABV is I went with the Chimay Red, which is about 6%, about our IPAs. So, you know, a little bit more reasonable and all of that, but it's got all the maltiness that comes in. And with the flavors of the everything, kind of like an everything bagel, fig spread, which works with this and the cheese.
And it's amazing that it doesn't run it over, but you know, the cheese has a bit of a backbone, even though it's not sharp. It's just really caramely and delicious, but it does have enough of a backbone to be able to stand up to all the things.
It does. What you really get out of this is Goudas have a sweetness that is unlike any other cheese, but it's a sweetness that goes with the buttery flavors of this. And this is a cheese that you leave out of refrigeration before you start eating it. And you get about an hour, hour and a half. And this is literally creamy. This slices so easy. And on here, the butter content really comes up with a little bit of a nuttiness. It is just a magnificent cheese, unlike any Gouda that you've ever had or anything of that sort in that comparison. It is Midnight Moon. It is no other thing. You just have to say that. You know, if somebody says, what's it like? It's Midnight Moon. That's it. I love this.
Yeah. I have one of Effie's oat cake with this cheese that's been sitting out for about an hour and a half, and it is remarkable. I got to say that I don't recommend the cold brew, but you know, girl tried.
Gotta try it.
Gotta try it. Exactly. Yeah. You know, the thing about pairing is that you have to be open-minded. You have to go out there and just do stuff. You know, just throw caution to the wind, try some things, see how things work. You know, with each of these cheeses, you could pick one beer, or you could pick one of the lighter beers and it's all going to work across. You can pick one of the wines, it's going to work all the way across. The fun part about pairing is that you bring out certain characteristics and you accent them. You know, but all of us, we've been road warriors for years, and you know, one of the things that we probably have done is we've eaten more in restaurants than anyone else that typically, because we're on the road. So one of my things is to kind of get a feel of what people are pairing their dinners with. And if you look around a restaurant, or back then, you know, a lot of people would go singular. They would go with a tea, or they would go with a soda, or they would go with one wine. And they would expect it to be able to make it all the way through the dinner, no matter what they're eating, even dessert, they're working with that. And it's okay, especially if you pick something that you really like. And that's a big start. When you're pairing, always start off with something that you love, because if it goes south, you still got something that you love.
You're here.
Mm-hmm. Again, cheers, gentlemen.
Friday night and the weekend.
This is
Yay.
Right, yeah.
Yay. This is
Vacation with cheese.
I love it. So thank you so much, Michael. We really appreciate being able to be here with you. Glad that you're safe and sane and healthy and, you know, continuing to enjoy your cheese. I'm really happy for that. And I hope that all the people that are watching have lots of cheese at their fingertips and can do some fun things with it and enjoy their vacation, be it a week or an afternoon.
Yes, thank you for having us, Michael. It's been a great experience getting on here with you guys and talking shop and being able to tell folks about Cypress Grove. So I hope you have a great vacation. Hope everybody out there is doing all right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure seeing you guys. It's been way too long, and I love all your cheeses, and it's wonderful to be able to spend a little bit of time together again. And I thank you for the wonderful cheese board. I thank you for your time today. And like I said, it's very good to see you. So thank you very much.
Likewise.
Have a safe weekend and a great 4th of July.
Thank you.
You as well. Take care.
Yay.
You know, I want to thank you for, you know, spending the time with us. Hopefully you enjoyed that. This will be recorded. It'll be available on my YouTube channel, Michael Landis Cheese, probably in the next few days. You can check that out and find 42 other videos on there of cheesemakers and all kinds of pairings and fun things like that. So I want to remind you that when you buy a cheese from Cypress Grove or you buy it at the store, you're not just supporting the Cypress Grove. You're supporting the guys that are on the farm. You're supporting the people that are packing it. You're supporting a lot of people behind there, families, farmers, cheesemakers. So there's a tremendous amount that we're able to do by buying one cheese. And so go out, take the chance, buy a cheese, and you will not regret buying any one of these or going through there. If you can't get it locally, you can go online. They're very easy to be able to find, and you can order it for yourself, get it into your house, and be able to play with us or without us, and have your own choices what you want to do. So I want to thank you for showing up, and hopefully you got some additional information about the cheeses, and you're really going to go out and have some fun with it. So be careful, be safe, wash your hands, and now wear a mask. All right, take care.